John Myatt is from PJA Consultants. Welcome, John. It's in the nature of these things that I can't actually see you at the moment, but I'm taking it on trust that you are there. So please give us your presentation.
Yes, thank you, John. So I'm John Myatt from PJA Consultants, Associate Director there. I joined PJA, I think it's 7 months ago now, which seems to have gone quite quickly from Birmingham City Council. And I've been public sector prior to that for about 15 years. So very, very used to public sector bidding and governance side of things. And my colleague who couldn't be here today, Annabelle Keegan, who some of you may have met, and she led the design work for the Town Council on behalf of the Regen Partnership, but obviously the Town Council were leading that work. So some of you may have met her. I'll just try and share the presentation, and I'll go through the work done to date and where we're hoping to go next with it, and then the actual proposals at the moment. Right. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yeah, good. Always worth checking. So the proposals at the moment are the Bridge Street, High Street, and I've added Union Street in because, as you will see, we have expanded the scheme following the design work and various consultations. Some of this has already been mentioned. So the previous, or the design work for this scheme and option development, as I said, was led by my colleague Annabelle Keegan on behalf of the Town Centre Partnership. That work looked at 4 options and following work with various stakeholders and the Town Centre Strategic Partnership, narrowed it down to the one option that I'll show you shortly. This is, I will say now, these are very high level options. It's concept design. So although we have looked at some detail in terms of getting available statutory undertakers information, there's been no proper surveys really that have been done at this stage of design. So as I say, that was all agreed with the Town Centre Strategic Partnership and key stakeholders. As that scheme was getting towards a preferred option, the Levelling Up Fund was announced, and at that's where I got involved, having done lots of funding bids previously to government, and we had, I think it was 5 weeks to submit a bid. So we got that in July 2021. As has just been, you've just been informed, and I'm sure people picked up anyway during the spending review announcement, we weren't successful, unfortunately. I think there's various reasons for that. One of which has already been discussed around potentially, and we don't know the exact reasons, but potentially the perception of Stratford as very well off and doing well. People may be aware that the Levelling Up Fund categorised every location in the United Kingdom into either a 1, 2 or a 3, and Stratford certainly wasn't nominated as one of the priority areas. That's not to say it can't get funding through the Levelling Up Fund. I'd say the other things to do with the application, they were very high on consultation. So that is one of the reasons that Stephen and the County Council are very keen to push on with the consultation ahead of a new bid. And it was also about delivery. So I think the early stage of development we were at may have counted against us. And that's why it's important we keep pushing ahead and get as much done as possible prior to any resubmission. But the government have come back to Warwickshire and have offered a feedback session which Stephen is currently waiting for an invite for. So when we get that, we'll get a formal response. The 6 areas of the Commission from Warwickshire. Firstly, the stakeholder engagement, which is why I'm here for one, and we've also been meeting with various other stakeholders across Stratford over the last 2 months. There's then a design review stage. The design that I'm going to show you is the design that was submitted to the Levelling Up Fund. So there is a design review stage in there if changes are required prior to public engagement. Then public engagement, which I'll come on to shortly. Then we will do a consultation report, feedback to key stakeholders such as yourselves, and then go through governance approvals. And I think it was mentioned that Warwickshire sort of took on the project, and I think as Highway Authority and Local Transport Authority, that's why they needed to take it on, because they will deliver the project, and going to consultation is a formal process, and they will need to get that signed off internally and through the political processes. So those governance approvals, and if we can get that done ahead of the next submission, presuming and going on all the stakeholder engagement we've done, there will be a positive response to the consultation, then that will be really beneficial to the scheme. So key activities we've been doing, as I said, we've met a lot of people over the last 2 months, including a lot of the key businesses within the town centre, Debenhams, M&S, and Boots, being 2 of them on Bridge Street. Now, the public consultation, and it was mentioned that we are going to go ahead with that, definitely. I don't know whether people have heard that literally over the last day or so, it's been decided to postpone that until after Christmas. And there's a few reasons for that. The main one being that we're waiting to get the feedback from government. So what we don't want to do is go and consult on a scheme and then government tell us, well, actually, you didn't get the money because we don't like a few specific elements that you can change. So we'd rather make those changes in the design review stage if needed, and then go out to public consultation. We are still proposing, and this hasn't changed, that we will do 2 consultations at the town hall, one on a Saturday, that Monday from the previous dates that had been put out, but one on a weekday, one going into the evening to try and cover off as many people as possible. There will also be online events for people who aren't comfortable or can't make a public exhibition. And then there'll also be on the Ask Warwickshire website all of the required information and a response form. And we will also be more than happy during that consultation to go and speak to key stakeholders and key groups, especially ones that might not be able to either come to a public consultation or to access the online consultation. So moving on to the actual scheme. Now, hopefully people can see this. I appreciate it is will be quite small, and if it hasn't been circulated, I'm sure we can circulate it to yourselves. Can people actually see that? Just I will do my best to explain. And as I said, this is quite a high level concept design. So at the moment, this plan doesn't show in terms of pavement pallets and the actual exact materials that will be used. Assumptions have been made. So on that front, the assumption that has been made at the moment is that we will carry on the public realm design to an extent from the Riverside area. So it would be that high quality of materials, and then that will carry on through the town. I suppose stepping back from that slightly, so the rationale behind this scheme is that Bridge Street in particular is a gap in the central Shakespearean core of Stratford. So you've got the Riverside area. We've got Henley Street going up towards the rail station. And I think actually the point that was made previously about more people travelling by sustainable modes is really important there. Actually, that link through from the Riverside up to the train station will be dramatically improved if this is delivered. So it's that link through, and also for cycling as well. So this will be a dramatic improvement along Bridge Street for cycling, and there is the national cycle route that runs along the end of Bridge Street. So in a bit more detail, so the proposal, as you can hopefully see, is that rather than widening the pavements on the outside of Bridge Street, there will be a Ramblers style design. If people have been to Barcelona, not quite on the same scale, but it's to create that central space, and that again is looking at this direct link through from Henley Street down across a remodelled roundabout, which technically would now be a roundel. You can then walk all the way down Bridge Street, and then improve crossing facilities at the end across to the Riverside, and also off towards the other side of Stratford.
John, can I just say something as well about that quickly? One of the things that I think is really exciting about that proposal is that it draws from the historic use of Bridge Street when there were, forgive me if you're going to say this, John, but when there were shops in the middle of the street. So I really like the fact that it's delivering something that makes the town work in a 21st century contemporary way, but it still draws on the structure of the streets in Shakespeare's time, and that's still embedded there. So I suppose I thought that would be a particular interest to this group, and just wanted to flag that, because to me it's one of the things that makes this design stand out from the other ones, that it's got that heritage base as well as a contemporary feel. Sorry for interrupting, John.
No, that's fine. That's a really good point. And actually, when we met with the market operators, one of the gentlemen there told us that actually it started off with a market, which then gradually turned in the centre, and then gradually turned into more formal buildings. So it's got a very, very long history. And this space will hopefully be able to be used for markets and events going forward. I think one of the important things here with the discussions around sort of the viability of Stratford and its sort of economic and retail base is that there are currently a lot of conflicts, on pedestrian conflicts with other pedestrians, let alone with traffic on Bridge Street. So actually what this does do is takes away some of those conflicts with people trying to use the shops on Bridge Street, not now in conflict with people that want to walk through Bridge Street and get to the Riverside or up to Henley Street. One of the main aims of this as well is to take away conflicts with traffic. So there are buses currently on Bridge Street. Those buses will remain, and I think there were not proposals but suggestions. Well, actually, could you take buses off? But as we've looked at that and worked with the bus operators, it's not practical, certainly not at the moment, to take buses off Bridge Street and fully pedestrianise it. So they are maintained. What we do is move one of the bus stops round the corner to maintain the capacity, while also being able to put in the Ramblers design. But what we do is narrow this right down to one carriageway in each direction. Now, it will still be all movements for traffic, so there won't be any prohibition of car use on Bridge Street. But what this design will do, because it narrows it right down and slows it down to, and I believe there'll be a 20 mile an hour speed limit on it, is to make it a lot less attractive for cars, and the materials used and the design, where it's not quite, and I'll show you shortly a sketch of it, but it's not quite flush. There is a small curb as per the latest guidance, but it does mean that it's very much pedestrian priority, and in terms of cyclists, they will also, traffic will be slowed right down. The projections from the transport modelling that was done as part of the assessment of this shows that the traffic levels will go below 500 cars per hour in the peaks, which it's currently a lot higher than that, and that makes it a good place for cyclists to use in a safe way. If we move up Bridge Street to the roundabout, as I said, this now provides a large wide crossing, again prioritises pedestrians and their direct desire line across. This has been modelled so that buses and HGVs can get round it if required. If we go north towards Union Street, and I suppose it's worth actually going back a minute with Union Street and High Street. This carries on a lot of the measures that were put in as part of the COVID-19 response. So with Union Street, the taxi bays and disabled parking, and really with Union Street, that's maintained, and then the materials are improved with a public realm scheme. With High Street, the proposal is to pedestrianise it between 11 AM and 4 PM. As part of the consultation, we are going to ask, is that the right time period? Should it be longer? Should it be shorter? So it'd be interesting to hear your views on that. And then again, there will be a public realm improvement along High Street. As you can see on the eastern side, there are disabled bays and some loading bays remaining. Now they'd be designed so that they were flush with the pavement, or almost flush, so that there is then spill out space for businesses and cafes and restaurants during the pedestrianised times. And we've also put in some landscaping pockets, or they could be parklets, or there's various different options. What I should say again at this stage is this is very much a high level concept design. So in terms of what goes in these spaces, where trees are located, where benches are located, this is all up for discussion in the next stage of design. So is the materials that are used. This is a proof of concept, so that we can show, look, we can fit this in. We can do a cost at this stage and put the bid in. What hasn't been decided as well, because we've been asked this at a lot of consultations, events such as this, is how we will manage access during pedestrian times and non-pedestrian times. So will it be bollards? Will it be sign only with a camera? At the moment, that hasn't been decided. Again, open to suggestions. I think I've covered everything. Sorry, no. So to the one other change is at the top of Union Street, it would become left out only. So that again has come from the transport modelling that was done. A lot of traffic, because of the change, is actually rerouted up Union Street and turn right, and then that caused congestion on Guild Street. So the proposal is that will be left only. I'll say now we have had questions from the emergency services on that, could we make it so they can still turn right, and also from buses at the bus companies when there's events on, whether they'd be able to turn right. So that is something we are looking at. And yeah, I suppose final point before questions. what I'd be really interested actually to hear from you on is sort of the greening of the town centre. We have put trees in, but there have been, I suppose, concerns brought to us from various markets and the Mop Fair and others that actually they could get in the way of their preparation. So so it'd be interesting to get your views on greening of the town centre, any ideas that you've got for how that could be done. We've got our own ideas, obviously, but we want to include everyone in this consultation and make sure everyone's views are heard. So at that point, hand over for any questions. Oh, sorry, actually, sorry, I haven't shown you the visualization. So as you can see, this is Bridge Street. The trees are shown, cycle parking, and you can see how we'd propose with the road, and there is that curb, which I believe under the current guidance would be 60 millimeters, which is, as I say, there was a study done fairly recently, and that was the national recommendation. So yeah, I will leave it with that picture.
Thank you very much indeed, John. That's very, very interesting indeed. Could I just ask you before I hand over general questions? You talked about consultations with Boots and Marks and Spencers. Did they have any particular comments to make about the Ramblas version of the scheme, the one that has been adopted? Did they have any problems about the cars being separating themselves from their customers? I just wondered if they were happy with that.
Without attributing comments to specific people at the moment, there have been some concerns from some of the businesses around us taking all of the parking out, and certainly short stay parking. So you can imagine that some of those businesses where people may want to pop in and get a prescription may be a large part of their business. So yeah, so there have been concerns, and we're looking at that, and are there other locations and I suppose it's a balance between, do we want to try and provide some short stay parking so people can have that access, or do we not want to encourage people to come to drive to the town centre at all? Certainly not in the middle in a semi-pedestrianised zone. The issue with that obviously is we also don't want to lose the core draws to the town centre from a retail perspective and those anchor stores. So it's getting that balance, and that's why we're really keen to get everyone's views on this and are there solutions, and we're certainly going to work with all of the retailers, but certainly those anchor stores, and ensure that we can try and come up with a compromise that works.
Oh, thank you very much. So